Please start the recording.
Yeah. Good morning, students. Hope you are doing good. My heartiest congratulations to all of you for being a part of esteemed Jindal family. It is going to be an important launchpad for you to prepare yourself for the professional career which lies ahead of you. I welcome you all to this prestige program where you will be able to listen to our professors, interact with them, and understand more about your journey in JGU. Without taking too much time, I would like to introduce our Dean, Professor R. SUDARSHAN, to address you, although he doesn't require an introduction. Just to tell you, Professor SUDARSHAN is a founding Dean of Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. I request, sir, Professor SUDARSHAN to take over the charge and take over the session, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. I have a very special welcome to the students who are joining the MA in Public Policy in the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. That's because this is the first program that we started, and in 2012, and in terms of experience, we know the most about this particular program. And we were the first, I think, in the country to start a 2-year master's program in public policy. Before that, there have been programs in public policy of a shorter duration and not for a university degree. And these were programs that were organized in the academy at Mussoorie, the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy of Public Administration for people who are joining the central services, and also for those who have done 15 years of service at a mid-career point. They organized courses in public policy for that group. Then we started public policy programs. When I worked in UNDP, we started a program called the Center for Public Policy at the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. And that was supported by the UNDP and had a partnership with the Maxwell School of Public Affairs in New York University, Syracuse. Again, that program is designed for those who are already working, for mid-career officials. Similarly, with the Management Development Institute in Gurgaon, and some programs in a very old institution started in the 50s, the Indian Institute of Public Administration. All of them cater to those who are already in service, mainly government officers, courses on public policy. Now, we began the first program where we welcomed undergraduates without any work experience necessarily to start learning public policy. Now, why should that be? We got independence in 1947. Our constitution got adopted in 1950. And we've, until 2012, we didn't have programs in public policy for undergraduate students. We had some programs in some universities called public administration. But if you ask me, there's not much difference in a way between public administration and public policy. But those early programs in public administration focused on problems of implementation. They took the policy made by the government for given and focused on how they should be implemented, what are the problems in the implementation of a policy. So that was mainly the curriculum of public administration. They didn't focus too much on what's needed to design or formulate a policy, because that was assumed to be done within the government, and those who are not already in government don't need to worry about it. But there's been a sea change in the attitude of the government, and the earlier belief that governments could do everything in-house, relying upon their officers and their political masters who give the directions for policy, that attitude has changed. And there's more recognition on the part of the government that they need to consult think tanks, research institutions, universities to find the evidence that will back the making of public policy. and also to get help in evaluating and monitoring the progress or impact of public policy. So openness on the part of the government is really the key difference between what happened during the British Raj and for decades, even after the British Raj, that public policy was left to those who are already in government. So now we come to the realization that public policy is too important to be left to policymakers inside the government, and a lot of other people, including civil society organizations, need to take an interest and be aware of what public policy is all about. So that's why the ground has been laid down for a master's program in public policy that all of you have been adventurous enough to join. I say adventurous enough because it is still relatively new compared to old disciplines in which you could do masters, all the social sciences, and engineering or medicine or whatever, or law. This is a relatively new discipline, and therefore all of you are in a way pioneers. We've graduated a number of batches since 2016, and I dare say that all of them have found the program fulfilling while they've been here, and they've been, reasonably lucky in getting meaningful jobs and careers. But we have with us today the Dean of the Office of Career Services and the manager in that office, Imlata Sharma. They'll speak to you in a little bit. But I want to give you a broad overview of what you're letting yourself in for when you study public policy. Now, you must all know that, there are some professions, not all, but some professions are called a practice. And there is a reason for them being called a practice. And those professions are law, you practice law, medicine, you practice medicine. You could even say accountancy, you practice accountancy. These are professions that are called practices. And the reason they are called practices is because they involve what you might call internal goods. In other words, there is something about a practice that is got not just the external goods. By external goods, I mean how much you get paid, your salary, and so on. But an internal good is what is the meaningfulness of it, right? Law is connected to the realization of justice, and therefore it's a noble profession, right? And therefore, a lawyer is meant to assist the court and to do his best for the client by way of doing justice to the client. The client may be guilty, but if the client is guilty, the lawyer's duty is to get him the least possible punishment possible under the law. And if the client happens to be innocent, the lawyer's duty is to get that person justice so that he's not unfairly and unjustly imprisoned. Someone's on the phone. You've got to mute everyone. Okay, so that's why the law is regarded as a noble profession. Likewise with medicine, because it has to do with healing people. The doctor's duty is to heal. No matter, whether the person is rich or poor, you take a Hippocratic oath that anyone who's brought to the care of a doctor, it's the duty of the doctor to care for that patient and to give that patient the best possible care and healing, regardless of what fees they might charge. Now, that's the ideal, right? That's what I mean by an internal good. You have an internal motivation to meet certain standards. I would like to say that in our university, when we teach public policy, we want to teach public policy as if it is a practice, so that there are goods internal to it. What is public policy all about? Public policy is about uh, getting people to behave in ways that will advance the collective good, that will advance the public interest, promote public good. Our university's motto is a private university promoting public service. So that caring about others, that saying that whatever you do must help others, regardless of how much you're paid and what you might earn, is what a practice is all about. Now, to give you another analogy to practice, say you go and watch a game of cricket, right? Or you play cricket. When you play cricket, I mean, nowadays cricketers earn a lot of money. All the top sportsmen, whether it's in tennis or cricket, earn a lot of money. But the top sportsmen are not in it for the money. They are in it for the joy of the game, right? That's what the internal good is about. It is incidental and beyond, their concern that they happen to get paid well, right? So, or you take a game of chess. You play chess, and when your opponent makes a brilliant move, you look up admiringly because that person's just made a genius move that you hadn't thought of. Because the joy is in the doing, right? So when you are a public policy practitioner, the joy is in the doing, is in the practice of public policy. It doesn't matter how much money you earn. You will earn a lot of money in the way the world is, undoubtedly. But the real joy is in saying that what you're doing, you're helping to design a policy that will make a big difference to the lives of people. And therefore, you've got to approach public policy as if it is a practice. I would hope that over time we would establish it as a practice and people would say, I'm a public policy practitioner, right? That's how you should describe yourself after you graduate, that you're a public policy practitioner. And what you're doing is designing policies. Now, the word policy is very simple in a way. I mean, if you're told by your parents at home that you should stop watching television or playing on your, mobile phone, some video game after 10 o'clock and read a book or go to sleep, that's laying down a policy in the house, right? Now, that policy is enforced by the authority or the respect that you might have for your parents. Your parents are asking you to do it, you respect your parents, and therefore the policy gets enforced. But when it comes to a country or international institutions, you have to translate the policy into law. And because unless it's a law, there is no authority to enforce it, right? I once had an occasion to point this out to people in our university. Our security staff in our university got enthusiastic about enforcing a speed limit for motor vehicles within the campus. There's a 20-kilometer maximum speed limit inside the campus. And some people were zipping at great speeds, and that's harmful because it's dangerous inside the campus. And so they said, you should respect the 20-kilometer rule, but many people didn't. So the chief of security thought it might be a good idea to impose a fine. Anyone caught exceeding that, you can levy a fine. And when I saw that notice, I had to point out that the chief of security in the university had no authority to levy a fine because there's no law giving him that power, right? The authority to levy a fine for breaking a speed limit lies with the police. So you can complain about a person having exceeded a speed limit in a particular zone to the police and expect the police to take action because they have the backing of the law, not the chief of security within Jindal Global University, right? So it's very important to understand that you have to learn a fair amount of law because all policy is translated into law before it can be given effect. And that means that there could be a risk that what the policy makers intend is one thing, and what happens to that when it's made into a law, and all laws in the country must conform to the Constitution. And if they violate the constitutional provisions, a court can strike them down. So there's no guarantee that the policy, say, that's decided by the Prime Minister, agreed upon by his cabinet, drafted by his senior civil servants, and then sent to the law ministry to be translated into a law, and then it is published with the assent of the president. That's how the policy cycle is in a way. But there is a risk that when it is being translated into legal language, something may be missed, or when it is challenged in a court of law, the policy may be overturned. So you have to understand that it's not a simple matter of saying, I will have this policy, I've decided on it, and it can be enforced straight away tomorrow. And then once you've started a policy and you begin to implement it, you have to worry about how well it's being implemented. You have to continually monitor the policy. You've got to see if it's working well. Say, for instance, we now have a new policy announced by the Prime Minister on vaccinations. Now there's got to be a whole cadre of people who monitor what's happening with vaccines, whether eligible people are getting it, whether people who are not eligible are also getting it, which they shouldn't be getting. All of this is the monitoring of the policy. And then you have a stage where you evaluate the impact of the policy. See, in our country, we have, unfortunately, people go around and the newspapers publish that, oh, the policy is excellent. Why do they say the policy is excellent? Oh, if Prime Minister Modi has formulated a policy, it must obviously be excellent because he's such a experienced political leader, 15 years as Chief Minister of Gujarat, and now in his 7th year as the Prime Minister. So obviously any policy that he drafts has got to be good, right? He's an intelligent man. He understands the country. But unfortunately, that doesn't hold. We say that, and then we say the implementation is bad. So when everything went wrong after the first lockdown and there was absolute chaos and people were walking on the roads because you stopped all communications, you all stopped all rail and road, and you didn't understand when you made the policy that it's not simply epidemiology that tells you people should stay at home to prevent the spread of the pandemic. You got to understand human psychology. Migrant workers don't have a home. They are living somewhere else. They are mostly at the site where they are working, and their homes are far away, right? So you didn't take into account demography, which is a study of how population is distributed in the country. You didn't take into account psychology, which is that human beings, when they are confronted with the danger, want to be with their family, want to be with those who they wish to care for and who will care for them in turn. And that's a natural feeling. And when confronted with any danger or fear, you want to be with your family. Now, if you don't understand that, and you say, oh, I've followed the epidemiology advice and I've shut down the country, you then saw what happened, right? So in making policy, you need to draw upon insights from multiple disciplines. It cannot just be economics, sociology, anthropology, or politics. It's got to be psychology as well. And I just gave you the example of why if you only listen to the one discipline, in this case epidemiology, about handling of pandemics and epidemics, you might get it wrong. The other reason people say the policy is very good but implementation is bad is because we are a very segmented society. We think that people who are in the top positions in the government, civil servants or ministers, are smart. And if they make a policy, by definition, it must be good and smart. But if a policy doesn't achieve the goals and the results it's meant to achieve, how can you call it good and smart? Right? It can only be called good and smart when it achieves the results that the policy is meant to achieve. And what we do in our country is we think there are these lower order people, these clerks and the babus and those working in the district, the block development officer, the taluk officer, all of these people who are actually meant to implement and make a policy work, they don't understand the policy, they are not smart enough. Now, this is completely wrong, because you've got to understand that they are the people who are going to implement the policy. And the policy must be intelligible to them. They must understand the point of the policy. And the last thing I'd say is, we emphasize in our program that it's important to consult the public in public policy. Unfortunately, many of our policies in our country are made, they're called public policies, but the public is missing. Nobody talks to the relevant public. You make a policy saying it's going to benefit farmers, right? And you proclaim that these laws will benefit the farmers. And the farmers who are supposed to benefit from it are saying, no, we don't want it. Why? Because you didn't consult them. You didn't listen to them before you made the law. You didn't ask them what are their fears, what are their anxieties. They may be just fears and anxieties. They may not necessarily be, have a basis in fact. Now, nearly a year now, farmers are just a few kilometers away. They've blocked the main highway from Delhi to Chandigarh, very near where our university is located. Why have they been not heard? Well, you assume that, we make a top-down policy. We say we know what's good for them. Probably, yes. A number of social scientists, economists would say that these laws will benefit the farmers. It will benefit poor farmers, actually. Whereas the anxiety of the farmers is that this may be the thin end of a wedge that is going to make Indian farming something that big corporations get interested in, and farming becomes a corporate activity run by a big firm, and all these farmers who are very proud of being landowners and tilling their land and growing their crops will be actually told what to grow, and would be contracted employees of big corporations. And this is a danger that's likely to happen. Now, it may happen, it may not happen. The point is, but these fears that farmers have are legitimate. And you must address those fears. If you say the policy is good for you, I mean, they're not children, right? The public are not small children. In the case of a small child who doesn't understand the value of medicine, you have to say, you don't know what's good for you. This medicine is good for you. I'm going to force it down you. But when you're dealing with public and with adults, you don't take that attitude. You consult the public and then you listen to them, right? So these are some of the things you will learn: how to consult the public, how do you get feedback from people. And so when you grow, get into jobs and become public policy practitioners, I dare say if you're trained in the General School of Government and Public Policy, you will have got many things right, because that's what you would be learning over 2 years from what I regard as one of the best faculty there is internationally. The faculty that we have in this school are comparable to the best, and I have to tell you that on authority, because I have degrees from 5 universities. I've spent 15 years in universities. I'm a very overeducated man. I studied in Bangalore University, Mysore University, before that Delhi University, Oxford, and Cambridge. And therefore I know that all of these universities have, on the whole, Oxford and Cambridge has very good faculty, but it doesn't mean that every department in Oxford and Cambridge has very good faculty. The university has a reputation, sure, number 1 or number 2 in the world, but you got to see who are the people who are going to be actually teaching and interacting with you. And on that score, I can assure you that you have the best possible faculty. I mean, I say that in the sense that, you will find them to be extremely competent and very concerned and caring for how well you do. I was very touched when the previous batch, and I hope you have more luck than them. The previous batch that's graduating this year, out of the 4 semesters of MA Public Policy, they were on campus only for 1. And all the other 3 had to be online, which is very, very frustrating for teachers, very frustrating for students. But on the whole, they were a very gracious group of students who said they learnt a lot. And if you, under difficult circumstances, are able to learn a lot, that means the credit goes to the faculty who teach you, to hold your attention, to make things interesting, in spite of this talking to a screen kind of thing that I am now doing. It would be so much more productive and enjoyable if we were together in person, looking at one another and interacting with one another. But then it's not in our hands. The pandemic, in a way, is an act of God, and it's affected every country in the world. Let's hope that it ends and that we'll be able to welcome you to the campus, which, by the way, because it's been so underpopulated for such a long time, has become a very, very beautiful place with lots of birds and squirrels and flowers and peacocks and, and then a lot of improvements that have been done in the infrastructure. We've got a fantastic cricket pitch with soil imported from Dharamshala, with good groundsmen who know what a good cricket pitch should be. We've had many complaints in big matches in cricket about the quality of the pitch and how bowlers can get advantage and batsmen get run out, finish off the innings in 45 runs. That won't happen. We've got a first-rate pitch. We've got a lovely jogging track around that pitch, which is very gentle on your feet. And we've got a great gym. We've got many more university accommodation, a swimming pool that's now being covered so that it'll be a closed swimming pool that can be used right through the year, including the hot summer months, which is when you'd like to swim most, but in an open air pool that's also comfortable. It'll now be a covered pool. So all these wonderful infrastructure improvements are going on right now. And so when you step into this campus, it'll be one of the best campuses, I dare say, in the country. It's been, every year, it's been getting the award for the cleanest campus. And that's not just because it's clean by appearance. It means it's also a green campus. In other words, there are facilities for collecting rainwater. There's recycling of water and minimizing the use of energy and electricity, all of that. So with those words, I'll stop and I'll request our colleagues from the Office of Career Services to tell you a little bit about what you might expect. Before they, just quick word, as I said, the world has changed. Government has become more open. Government takes a lot of public policy graduates as consultants into Niti Aayog and in particular ministries. Many state governments have schemes where they work, they're called the chief ministers, whatever. They work with district collectors. So you also have opportunity to get work in government. Then a number of think tanks employ public policy graduates. Then a lot of corporations that are into corporate social responsibility and have to finance them. And the finance of that is huge in the country. And we have not fully exploited the advantage there is of 2% of corporate taxes before tax going into CSR activities. And what is CSR all about? It's about expanding and the availability of public goods. Public goods are what? Health, education, anything that has very high externality is a public good. Well, strictly economists would say only, something where you cannot exclude somebody from using it is a public good. I mean, a lighthouse is a classic public good because you can't prevent any ship from seeing it. And a ship that sees the lighthouse and navigates by that light can't be charged a fee. If they don't pay the fee, they still see the light, right? So the lighthouse is a classic public good, but because it's freely available. But education and health are merit goods. Economists call them merit goods because they have very large external benefits. An educated population will make the country strong and prosperous. And a country with ill-educated people cannot possibly, expect to do just as well. A healthy population will achieve a lot. A population that's sick and with high morbidity levels will not achieve it. And therefore, the externalities for the country so make these. So CSR activities are about expanding the supply of uh, activities like health and education. And we have a big role to play as public policy graduates in all of those avenues of employment as well. So I'll stop there and hand it over back to Sandeep. And we'll have a time for questions and answers.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So need to. So any question, guys?
No, can we finish with the OCS presentations?
Yeah.
And leave the questions to the end?
Sure, sir. So I would like to invite Professor Pankaj Gupta, is the Dean of Office of Career Services. Pankaj, sir.
Okay, Sandeep ji, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Bilkul.
Okay, actually there is some problem in my computer, so I'm not able to open my video. There is some issue here, so I'll be speaking like this only with the due permission from Dean SUDARSHAN. Is it okay, Dean?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So, after a great and inspiring talk by Dean SUDARSHAN, there is nothing much, which I can add. And I have such a great regard for Dean SUDARSHAN. He has been also a Rhodes Scholar, and he has been on the selection committee of Rhodes Scholar. In fact, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, in his life also, Dean SUDARSHAN played an important role when he selected him as a Rhodes Scholar. So there are always moments of truth in our life, and one decision changes your entire life. So I believe you are also at that moment when you're joining this great school, JSGP, and with the founding dean already here and great faculty members over here. So I would also like to congratulate you for your decision to join. But as there is always something, there's a what you can say the post-buying behavior where you keep thinking, oh, whether I have done the right decision or not. So I can tell you with my experience, I have also have a very global career. I have studied in IIM Ahmedabad, University of Washington, Harvard Business School, and like that, and been to about 52 countries. And I have got a very wonderful team of OCS. OCS known as the Office of Career Services. I have also been a Fulbright scholar. So my team will be working with you to know what are your career aspirations. And as Dean was sharing with you that it can go, you can go to Niti Aayog, you can go to global organizations, maybe at a local level also if you want to make a difference. And as he was sharing that, it is not like any other academic course. It is more of a practice oriented. Like you were sharing that like the law or like the medical profession. It is also like, the practicing of public policy and as against from like master of like MPA and those kind of courses. So there are so many options available. I know that there was some of my friend who graduated from JF Kennedy School. Some graduated from Princeton, who went with me to US on Fulbright, and then they stayed on there. So after they completed their degrees, and they were offered so many other kind of jobs. But many of them decided to go to country like India, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and like that. Not even Singapore. And I was talking to them why. So they said that systems and other possibilities and other things are already there. So there is very less scope for making a difference. In India, whatever you do, it become like a world record. You see that our Baiju or the sports Kira, I was part of these founding teams. because they were set up by my students when I was director of Symbiosis Bangalore. So whatever great work you do here, it will give you a global level of recognition. Then whether it is a Magsaysay Award or Padma Award or whatever, they will just follow you. So I have just very one simple message for you, that whatever you do it with a lot of love and passion and total honesty. And if you really feel that it is meant for you, that is what you feel it is aligned to my your Swabhav and Swadharma. And maybe once I get a chance, I will also discuss with you how to know your Swabhav. I have a patented model over there, which is based on ancient wisdom of this Ruchi, Yogyata, and Vishwas. That is passion, ability, and faith. And I have also developed a instrument that how to know, and in that way how to assess your Swabhav and Swadharma. And then whatever field you feel that, okay, yes, I want to go there. And when you want to go there, do not think about any constraint, because it is always the road less traveled that gives you more happiness and joy in life. So be outrageous, and what I can say that create a life you love, and also live the life, love the life you live. Both things are very important. So here in Jindal, you will also get an opportunity to learn so many different kind of courses, even from the different schools. There are so many research centers over here. Um, like you can also have courses on meditation, mindfulness, ancient wisdom. And as Dean was sharing, it is maybe not just for money. We also have a course known as Money to Meaning. So if you want to create meaning in life, you are not only concerned only about success, but you want to go for significance. So any kind of success you have, if you say I, me, myself, my family, then you get limited only by that. And when you also include others in your scheme of thing, like what we used to say, Vasudev Kutumbakam, like the whole world is your family, and you are able to expand your consciousness where you can feel the pain of other people, though they are related with you or not, then you are a very good, public policy person. And, many people, recently, one of my students sent me invitation to join this clubhouse, and see a lot of people are speaking on many topics, and they're just talking because they just want to hear their own voice. But I always believe practical oriented approach is very much needed. That if you see, like, you must be, when you be coming to our lovely campus, as Dean has already described so well, you will feel it is like a great oasis over here in midst of nowhere. But then you will pass something known as Biswa Mill, which is always plagued with a lot of traffic problems. Then will pass through something known as Jatheri, और वहां पे वो पानी भरा रहता है all the time. A lot of water logging is there, and there is road issues and other things. So what I suggest, try to make a difference wherever you can. Do not just overlook, because I'm also part of UPSC selection committee. I set question paper for IAS. I also sit on the UPSC selection board. So we assess, the public policy quotient in people. So that maybe another time I will discuss. I also teach in Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy in Mussoorie, where I teach ethics and mindfulness. So it would be a pleasure to meet you in person, or maybe virtually if there is any such possibility. And I have got wonderful team member, Imlata Sharma ji, Vaishali, um, and also we have Janvi, who are there to take care of you. We do not focus on just giving you a job. We rather create capability in you so that you know what you want for your life. I'm just finishing, Dean. Just give me one more minute, please. So, what I'd like to say that um, you will create your plan that, okay, in 2 years, what I want to do. Okay, I want to go in the World Bank. Then, in order to go to the World Bank, what do I need to do today, 2 weeks from now? Where I need to do summer internship? Where I need to do winter internship? how many opinion pieces I have to write, in which paper, in which journal, are there with whom I need to network, and who are the people in World Bank with whom I need to connect on the LinkedIn. Are you getting? Never apply for job. I'm already so well networked. I keep getting so many offers and all that. Create your own personal brand and you know general knowledge at one or two deep level knowledge in some domain area. There's also a lot of the consulting companies, like there's a grid by PwC and KPMG. They do a lot of government consulting. Planning for that, maybe you can try for that, and we are also there to support you. So push and pull will be needed. So what the old saying is, that we do not give you fish, but we tell you how to fish. So that is in nutshell, and I will say that what there was a tragedy queen, the Meena Kumari used to say, "मैं दुनिया की मारी बेचारी." That is where you try to blame somebody कि मेरे को ये नहीं मिला, देखो OCS ने ये नहीं दिया. No, no, no. Please, would like Eklavya. Eklavya ने कहा, "How with me? आप हो भवा, be a lamp to your own life." There is a small couplet in Hindi, then I will translate that into English. That will be my key message for you, and that is that संकल्पशील साधक को एकलव्य बनना पड़ता है. कृपा की आस छोड़कर निज झुकना पड़ता है. किसी और के मरने से कोई स्वर्ग नहीं पहुंचा है. स्वर्ग पहुंचने के लिए निज को ही मरना पड़ता है. What it means is, that anybody who something great in life, any expectation from external sources, rather होता ना खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना. क्या आगे का क्या है कि हर तदबीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे बंदे खुदा तेरी रजा क्या है. It's, you need to raise yourself by yourself. That is my key message, and we are always there to support you, and you can truly count on us. But together we will do these companies, these organizations. Let's how we can hunt more. With this, I stop here, and I will be requesting my colleague Imlata Sharma ji share more details. Thank you, Dean Sudarshan, and all colleagues.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you, Pankaj ji, for giving me an opportunity to speak to the students of this forum today. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Imlata Sharma. I'm representing the Office of Career Services for the JSGP school today. So, see, we are talking about the Masters in Public Policy. Masters in Public Policy is a flagship program where you will feel, in case implementing the ideas, implementing the policies which the governments are making, understanding the challenges and taking cover to it, and making the implementation better. Adventurous activities and helping the people around. In case it gives you a kick, that's Masters in Public Policy. Okay, while what I'll say here is you'll have a lot of learning and unlearning kind of experiences during the whole course. For example, I'll tell you, I have got around 24 years of work experience working with the embassies and the development organizations. But still, I feel that there is a lot of learning to do. Why Masters in Public Policy is, it's actually close to my heart. Why it is that very close to my heart is, it offers a lot of varieties, whether you talk about education, health, disaster management, NRM. So obviously there are a lot many more varieties to that. Again, under the specific, part, for example, when I said education or a health, there are varieties below that, You might be focusing on primary health, secondary health, maternal and child health. Again, there are varieties down the line, in case you're dealing with the communities. For example, if you wish to be implementing a health project with the Mayo Muslim community, So the challenges would be different in case you're doing the health kind, the similar kind of a project. Maybe the beneficiaries numbers are the same, but the time taken would be different. You might have to deal with different stakeholders. You might have to deal with different belief systems. There are a lot of behavioral aspects, where you need to be understanding the community and then implementing a project. It might give you as I said, it's a lot of challenges around when you're implementing down the project. So we need to understand how the organizations are working for it. There are, as the variety, as I said, you can choose in from renewable energy programs. You can choose in from gender rights, child rights, human rights. You can choose in from the climate change. You can choose the electoral democracy projects. So again, when you specialize the type of projects, for example, I tell you that the students from the Masters in Public Policy from the last year, they've had really clear head. So some of the students obviously had an inclination that, ma'am, we need to be working on for the climate change, for example. So what we try to focus on here is when the student comes to us with the different thematic areas interest, we try to focus the organizations and give them a set of organizations, maybe 10 to 12, which again differs from the implementing organizations like the NGOs, think tanks, research organizations, or the strategy makers like the government. As Dean said that, you can be working and interning in the organizations like Niti Aayog. You can be working and associating with, separate think tanks. You can be working in for the NGOs. So again, there has been quite of a challenges which you'll be facing in and implementing this similar kind of projects at different forums. I'll give you an example. Like we were doing a monitoring and evaluation, of one of the project in Rajasthan once. The student was quite calibered in the sense of she was a master's person, 2 years of work experience. But when we went in to for the the monitoring where a lot of the FGDs were supposed to be done, but then she was not very clear on the kind of the language skills which or the behavioral patterns, or she was not very comfortable sitting on the ground and asking the set of questions, or she was not very comfortable, she was feeling the smell all around the the communities. Obviously they will not be part of it. So there is a lot of learning which you will understand when you're meeting the communities. So masters in public policy set students, what we try to instill into them is that whenever they are doing the internships, they should be going to the communities, there should be more reach to the communities, because understanding, for example, disaster management, disaster management personnel sitting in the Gurgaon or a Delhi, and disaster management personnel trying to implement a project to maybe 100 beneficiaries in the top hills, there are different challenges to it. So what does actually OCS do? We try to have more of industry interaction so that you can understand the type of projects, the kind of implementations which happen, the kind of communities they are dealing in with, and the type of skills which you require in from the organization's perspective. We do a lot of career sessions, which makes you understand the kind of a different, variety of these set of organizations which I just spoke about. We do a lot of alumni sessions where this alumni is working with the organizations will also give you a feed on the type of organizations, the environment of the organization, and how do you gel in along, because they were part of they were like a student before. So obviously there has been questions coming in from the students saying that ma'am, there are a lot of assignments which we need to have, and then there is a assignment, and there is a lot of expectation coming in from the organization. How should we deal it with? So there are a lot of questions which you can also get the feed from the alumni. So we also support you on the internship assignments. Why I'm telling you is there are a lot of organizations where they need you to be, for example, CPR, which is working on the urban development. So then they need to be finalizing some of the candidates who are working into the urban development projects. So what we do is we try to give them give some kind of a questions which the HR might ask you to make you eligible and stand out in the CVs which are parked in at the HR's desk. So we have the summers and the winter breaks, so where we expect all the students to be doing the internships. So this year we have made the internships mandatory. Why is because see, you should take the internships as checking different chairs. Maybe you come with the perspective that I need to be working in a think tank. So let me just try out my internships into the 3 different think tanks. Let me just check their environment. Let me just check what are the gaps which I have. Let me just check the technical skills which will be required in when I want to graduate. And then I want to be applying in for the similar set of organizations. So OCS takes care of that in case there are professors across JGU who have got some technical skills who can train you on this. We have interactions with top policy makers, so you'll be interacting with the government bodies, you'll be interacting with the corporates, heads and the consultancy founders, just to understand when you're talking about what are the gaps coming in from the perception from the government organization. For example, what will a minister say that, hey, I made up an education policy, but yeah, blah blah blah, and what is the NGO thinking on for it, or what is a research tank actually doing the research on. So let's just get a feel from those. So there is a lot of interactions which we conduct. So the students can actually choose from, they can be sitting with doing some kind of advocacy, or they can be sitting with the implementation organizations, or with the strategy makers like Niti Aayog. So with this, I'll open the forum to the questions to the students. We'll take a lot of open houses once you join in from August. So there is a lot of calendar and the events which we have planned for. Once we meet in August, we'll share the kind of details which we have. Students can certainly go back to our website to check on the organizations where we have given the internships and the opportunities too. But yes, over to Dean and Sandeep ji for opening the forum for the questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Should we start the question, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a little time for that.
Yeah. So guys, time for the questions. Please unmute yourself and ask your questions. Please make sure one by one. So who is first?
You can raise your hand. There's a
yeah. So Aryaman, yeah. So Aryaman,
hand up.
Yeah.
Good morning, SUDARSHAN sir.
Morning.
Sir, I wanted to know how intensive is this course, because I chose this course because I thought it was a respectable, decent course and has a lot of scope. But it's not like I'm very emotional about it or particularly passionate about it. So I just wanted to understand how intensive this course would be. If I'm making any sense?
No, this course is, I describe it as extremely interesting, right? Once you get interested in something, then it doesn't feel intensive. Right? If you're not interested in something and you have to do it, then it's a bit of a chore. Then you say, what the hell, But if you get absorbed in it and you find it very interesting, then you will enjoy it. And when you enjoy what you're doing, it won't feel like it's tough, So that's what I'd say. I mean, you see, there are a number of courses, so if you did a master's degree in mathematics, now, unless you actually have a passion and a love for the subject, and you really love mathematics, and you say, well, I've just taken it to see what it's like, you'll be very, very, you'd find it very intensive. But this one, you see, the advantage of a public policy course is it's dealing with what's happening around you every day. Every day there are policies, every day there's problems of implementation, every day there are what you might call wicked problems, where you try to solve the one problem and in the process you find that you've created another problem. There are unintended consequences. So there's not a dull moment, right? So, and therefore I wouldn't call this course intensive. I describe it as interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arman. So next is Antara Keshwani. Yeah, Antara, please ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. So, I wanted to understand about the placement records for the last two batches. If may I know how many students got the job offers from Jindal and the Office of Career Services?
Well, that has to be answered by Hemlata.
Antara, we have a hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
Yeah. So Antara, from the 2019 pass batch, we had got 100% placement record. And in 2020, which passed on, we had 90%. This year, we're expecting to have more than that, but it's a bit of delayed. So as you know, Dean said, and we also mentioned that, in case you're passionate, trust me, the organizations are looking for you. In case you have got, that is why we have a lot of industry interactions, right? So when you interact with the organizations, we understand more, we get more clarity, and what are their expectations, we build ourselves to that. So once we are already in the graduating, and then we have in the MAPP, we have got a capstone as well, right? So when you're interacting and working with the organization for some time, your understanding of the kind of projects, the challenges, how you handle it. So you have, as I say, you have words to the HR, you have a story to tell to the HR, right? So when you have that and you're skilled enough, no organization would like to leave in somebody who is quite inspired and passionate to be working in the system. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, but there should be some point. Manimala, we have to put up this data on the website so that prospective students don't have to keep asking, what is the record. Whatever it is, it should be, on the website. So say Antara can go and see which are the organizations where public policy graduates from this school have got jobs since the school started, right? Now this is part of information that is legitimately expected by prospective students, and it should be on the website. So let's make sure that it's there.
Andra, I can reply you that in a recent batch, 14 of the students took capstones, and 4 to 5 of them, they have been placed with the same organization with which they were working. To name one is Nirman, and the other one is CEW and NCAER. These are the few organizations with which the students were working, and they are placed in that particular organization as well. It was their hard work that they got within their capstone period. They are placed in those particular institutions, and the rest it is working on. So Imlata is taking care of that.
All right. Thank you.
Can I add one thing over here?
Sure.
Yeah. Antara, I also would like to share with you that there are two kind of organization, what you can say, for mass hiring and one for a class hiring. So like if you go to engineering colleges, like a TCS will come, like what you say, the truck company, and they came and they will hire, 120 people, 140 Infosys will come like that. But when here any think tank or any company come, they are looking for a class. They will see that, okay, where the fitment is there, whether this person is interested or not. Like there is a one student, Jhalak Agarwal, in the current batch, and she said, I want to go only in health sector. Like there is another girl, Pankuri, she want to go only in education administration. So what happens that we help our student looking into what area are you interested, and the route to a great job is actually through the internship, and also doing effective networking right from the day one when you start over here. And there are a lot of great people who are invited by the faculty colleagues and by the dean Sudarshan personally. So whenever such thing are there, when you have a class and they say, okay, any question, then there will be a silence over there, like which is very common in all students. But these are the opportunities to build your brand. Like you do a lot of great research about that person, and you see that everybody is so interested to know what great work he has done in the previous organization. So you just give them little bit of how hota hai na, अरे sir, you have done that great work in that organization, and I'm very much interested. And then you also do some work. What is their current problem? Then you say, I know that this may be your challenge area, and I, as a bright student, I can support you in that thing. And believe me, no senior person. I have been like a president, vice chancellor, group CEO kind of position. And there is something known as an elevator pitch. Like you meet Ratan Tata in an elevator, then what you have to say in those 15, 20 seconds, so that Ratan Tata comes and gives you the card. Okay, Antara, please do call my secretary or call me. So that is what in a very short term I said about the Eklavya approach. And also I want to tell one more thing, which is known as a Delta approach. वो डेल्टा वेरिएंट की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, but Delta happens, that when you join an organization and such a prestigious program like master's program, it also depends what was your level when you joined. Like if you're already working at 7, 8, 10 lakh rupees, then you have a capacity to go even further, like 20 lakh or something. But if you do not have any such experience, then also your bargaining power is little low. So it all depends on you. We are there to fully support you. But I just thought to share that it is not a mass hiring per se, but it is a class hiring where you have to actively work with us, and we are there with you. And one more thing I want to share, what Imlata ji shared, we never leave our student in court. Like last year, though our graduation happens on the 7th of August, that is the day when OP Jindal ji's birthday falls, and my birthday also falls on the same day, 7th August. So that is a day is a graduation day, and but we never said any student. We kept on supporting till December, till January. So it is not going to happen. There may be delay, but we are not going to leave you. That is, as a dean of OCS, there is my assurance to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pankaj sir. So Karthik, yes, you want to ask something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Karthik.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, my question would be the follow-up to the last question only. It was just not told that we are not about mass hiring but class hiring. So my question is regarding that only, since I don't have much of a job experience after graduating in my engineering course. I gave few years for preparation of competitive exams, and now I'm in this course. So I don't actually have a lot of job experience in my background. So how to build that class? Secondly, it was told by
Karthik,
Himlata.
Karthik, let me answer this question and then you ask your second question. Can I do that?
Yes, sure, sir. Yes, please.
Nobody has told you to go only for class. If you are interested to go for an entry level job, nobody can stop you. And as you said, I was trying for competitive examination. So let me share with you. We have also now created three verticals. One is a higher education vertical, where if you want to go for PhD program abroad after your masters, for the PhD in US and all, they are looking very much to have people from India. So you will not be getting any tuition, and also you'll be getting $2,000 to $3,000 as a living allowance. That is one. Secondly, if you want to try for IAS, now we have started on-campus coaching for IAS examination and also for the judicial exam as well. And there is a GMAT, GRE, TOEFL kind of coaching also available. So you fix up your mind where you want to go, and then we will discuss with you how we can make you successful in that domain. और जी की फर्क पैंदा doesn't matter कि you have to go only in very class and very high job. I think in the beginning stage where you don't have experience, I think the learning is more important than the earning. So have I answered your question, Karthik?
Just to follow up, sir, you have answered most of the part. Just to follow up that since I didn't have the job experience to finance this, since I'm very much interested in this course actually, and it's very unique. I've taken a loan from bank to finance this course. So after the completion, I also need to have some sort of idea that if I can repay the EMIs after the completion of the course. So in that regard, if I can get some guidance or some regarding that.
Yeah,
Okay, nobody can actually guarantee that. Oh, sorry, Dean, you want to say something?
no, no, I just wanted to say that, you'll be doing internships.
Yes.
And a unique feature of this program is we send away some selected students. They have to have the aptitude. You sound like the kind of guy who does have that aptitude to spend the entire semester working in an institution, right? So that's not an internship. In an internship, we expect the organization to help our students to learn something more, to learn by doing some things. So the emphasis in an internship is on learning. The emphasis in a capstone project is on contributing. In 3 semesters, you've learnt a fair amount. And that kind of knowledge must have practical relevance. And in the semester that you're doing a capstone with a capstone client institution, you are applying that knowledge. You're actually doing something, an assignment or more than one assignment would be given to you. And there would be a supervisor assigned on the part of the institution. And you would have to, prove yourself on that. Now, the big advantage of that is they get to know you very well. In an internship, it's for a few weeks. Whereas if you're there for 4 to 5 months, that's a stretch of time when you actually can accomplish something in that period, and the institution will get to know you very well. And therefore, as Manimala was mentioning, since we started the capstone program, a number of students who, I have to say that it requires a special aptitude, because you're out there in the deep. There's not, it's not someone teaching you anything. You got to work on your own for the most part. If you do that, most of those kinds of students have been offered jobs. The organization wants to retain them and continue to work with them, and they also have that experience, right? So if they apply to other places and they describe what they did during the capstone project period, that is a very impressive bit of work experience that's built into the program.
I think, Karthik, your question has already been answered by Dean Sudarshan. I would just like to add one small thing over here, that if you operate with a sense of insecurity, कि मेरा क्या होगा, I have taken loan, you have to you have to believe in yourself, man. If you already start the whole journey self-doubt, you can't go great places. Confidence.
Rightly,
That,
rightly said,
oh
sir. Yes.
my dear friend, listen to me, because I have a journey, from nowhere. I have reached to multi-crore kind of salary and all that. I got financially free 7 years back. So people used to say, you should know how to convert your Saraswati ji into Lakshmi ji. What it means, yeah, what is the intellectual power? You have a lot of resources. Why do you feel you create something, home on a clubhouse? You will start, right? Even these 2 years as well. Or you create a startup, you create a unicorn,
Sir, I'm
of
sorry, your voice is getting a bit disconnected in between.
okay. So what did you hear? And can I say again? I
Uh,
said
I heard you clearly
I think he
till
got the
you.
point. Yeah.
Yes.
You got the point. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Yeah. So Prajakta is next, sir. Yeah, Prajakta. Please ask.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. So the thing is, I wanted to ask that the internship that we'll be working from, will they be from like we'll have to work from home or we'll gain some ground experience from it?
No, we hope this, you know, with the key to a future for all of us is vaccination. The more people that get vaccinated, the greater the possibility. You see, the United States made a big mess of handling this pandemic under President Trump. But the moment the vaccines got rolled out, now more than 70% of the United States has been vaccinated. Now all restrictions are removed in that country. I mean, the universities are going to bring back the students into residence and to have classes, because the risk of the vaccine spreading in a large way and affecting a large number of people is greatly minimized by vaccination. So we hope that your internship would be on the field and not online. I mean, an online internship is a what is it called? Is an oxymoron. It contradicts itself. It's not much of an experience. Um, you know, it's got to be different. It's got to be in the field. And by the time the end of the year comes, I am confident, personally speaking, that your internship would be a proper and enjoyable one.
Sir, I have one more question regarding the previous questions that were asked. Sir said that if we are standing on a certain pedestal, that we have more chances of bagging an internship or a question project. But I do not possess such experience at all. Like I graduated this year, so if we have to bag an internship, like what
No,
all
I don't think you understood what Dean Pankaj Gupta was saying. He was saying that your internships, you have to take them seriously, is a way of building up experience, right? Now, if you say, oh, the internships don't give me credits to earn the degree, and even if I don't do an internship and I complete the courses, I get the number of credits, I earn the degree, that means you're losing out on a very important opportunity, which is acquire some experience by doing an internship. Because then you are out with an organization and you're tackling some real problem somewhere in some part of the country. And that's the experience he was referring to. We will enable you to acquire the experience. You don't have to have experience before joining the program.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to. Thank you so much.
Dean, can I mention a point here? So Prajakta, actually, there is a process. What we do a career mapping with you first, just to understand that what is your understanding on the kind of, set of organizations. Okay, so we understand that. And then we tell you that these are the set of organizations which are falling into. Secondly, we also give you an interaction with the organization, the HR or the founder, to tell you that the kind of projects and what is required. So don't worry there. Once we are opening up in the August, we'll take it and handhold you to take over the internships. As far as the online is concerned, at this point in time, yes, the organizations are also giving the research kind of assignments under the internships. But they are anyhow opening it up once the situation normalizes. For a master's in public policy, we certainly want somebody who has to have a internship experience. Thank you.
Who's
Imlata
next?
ji, I want, sir, can I just add one
Yeah.
small over here? So
Sure.
thank you, sir. what I mentioned at that moment was a delta factor. Like if you say that I join an institution and straight away I should get a salary of 20 lakh. So it was only in that context that your previous experience and how much you were drawing that matters. But there are a lot of organizations, especially the consulting organization, they are now also looking at hiring fresh talent because they believe that if there is somebody who is fresh, they are bringing new set of eyes and new way of thinking. So you are not at a disadvantage at all. Let me tell you.
Thank you.
Anushka had a question. Anushka Tripathi, you put something on the chat box, but you can ask.
My question was, so what is expected from a policy practitioner to
Yeah, I
work?
can read that, Money, but I want her to speak.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So I'm a little hesitant because my language is not that good.
Yeah, but I can hear you well. Go on.
So my question is, when we come to public policy, what should be expected from a student? Like you should work for your nation, work for your nation's development, or you can work for public around the world.
Yeah,
Like
that's an excellent
what should be our
question.
perspective
Yeah.
when we are joining this course?
All right. Now, firstly, I have to say that you're joining a university which is called Jindal Global University. The word global is the middle name of the university. It's a very international outlook in this university with a lot of international staff and a lot of connections with international organizations. So the outlook is really not parochial and nationalistic, except that a country that where you wish to learn public policy, India is a fantastic uh, country to do that because of the public policy challenges and because um, how our country um, enables you to be creative because we have so many problems, right? If you were in some country without, too many problems and the people were generally carrying on, probably you wouldn't be able to learn as much. So there's no question that in the course of studying here, you ought to take a lot of interest in problems that our country faces. But then the problems that our country faces are problems that the greater part of the world also faces. So poverty, for instance, is a problem that is not just Indian, it's a problem in the United States. It's a problem in many countries with a high per capita income because there's also inequality. So inequality is another problem, right? I mean, if you went to the United States, um, the how well children are doing in terms of nourishment and in terms of how much they learn, children in New York City, Harlem district are worse off than children in Bangladesh. So it isn't that, only some countries have a set of problems or not. When trying to say learning how to solve problems, learning that in India is a bigger advantage because you have more opportunities to encounter problems and to work with organizations that are trying to tackle them here. But I'd also say that if you looked at who are the people that are hired by all the major foundations, you see, the World Bank and the IMF have only recently started hiring public policy practitioners because they were very economistic. They thought they are institutions concerned with economics, and for a long time only hired economists. But they've come to understand that the problems of the world can't be solved by economists alone. And therefore, they now hire people with other disciplinary backgrounds, and among them, the greater number are public policy graduates. That's the IMF and the World Bank. The United Nations organizations hire people with public policy backgrounds. And all the top foundations, I worked in the Ford Foundation for 8 years, and I know that the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the Soros Foundation, all the international foundations hire public policy graduates. They don't hire economists, they don't hire political scientists, they don't hire sociologists. They hire public policy graduates because public policy graduates are able to bring insights from multiple social sciences in order to tackle real world problems. So I'd say that the opportunities for a public policy graduate in internationally are right now at this point somewhat greater than within the country, because within the country we still have to get people to understand that public policy graduates have a lot to offer. It's got to take hold. But as I mentioned, the big opportunities are in the CSR initiatives around the country, because good corporations understand that you don't have a monodiscipline to tackle the problem, because human beings are not to be understood as the economic person or the political person or the social person. They're all mixed, and therefore there's a greater recognition of the value of the knowledge and skills that you have among the corporations, and also among institutions such as Facebook and Google and so on, because they all have public policy divisions now. They all need to understand public policy because they're operating in different countries with different kinds of policies. And they want their staff to be able to tell their senior management what are the implications of different kinds of policies that a country has adopted and what it means for the business in which that company is engaged in. So Amazon has public policy division. All of them are looking now for public policy graduates. So the perspective is really more international than national presently, but I would hope that someday we'll have most of our policymakers in India with training in public policy. And therefore my hope and expectation is that we would have many more institutions that teach public policy. We now have, after we started, there are now about 20 other institutions: National Law School, Bangalore, TISS, Hyderabad, Xavier, Bombay, Presidency University, Kolkata, all have started, Mount Carmel College, Bengaluru, have all started public policy programs that are modeled on what we began with. But that's too few. I want many more in the country. And I want to see our future in the country where all policymakers have sound training and background in public policy within the country.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dean, I wanted
I
to
got my answer.
add on one more point here. Anushka, we recently did the students, the internships with OECD Paris and UNDP Korea, National Bank of Slovakia. We offer you the flexibility. I mean, we offer you the possibility of doing the internships in India and abroad, depending upon the sector of organizations who are asking for a remote. This pandemic has actually given a possibility even for you sitting in India and doing the internships to the set of organizations which are working abroad. So that's a point I wanted to add on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we are going to time up. Ankita Chadda. Yeah.
We can't hear you, Ankita. You have to, we can't hear you. There's no sound.
Ankita, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
We can't hear you still.
So there is a problem, I think. Anyway, so will you fix up to this, and Sai Singham?
Hello, good morning, everyone. So my question was, till now the policies were drafted and implemented by the IAS officers and high-level people in the government. So after me completing the public policy student as a political advisor or any cadre, will I be the decision maker or just provide the records and analysis of the policy to the IAS officers?
Well, as I said, public policy has to be prepared by government and it has to be translated into law by parliament or by a gazette notification as an executive order. So all public policy is the business of the state. That's what the government does, right? But earlier the government believed that it could do everything by itself, by those who are already inside the government. But now the government understands that the IAS officers are generalists. They are not specialized in a particular field. And therefore they need to look at think tanks, research institutions, universities to provide inputs to policymakers. Parliamentarians also recognize that. So the committees of parliament invite consultants, employ consultants. We have an organization called PRS, which works very closely with members of parliament. And one of the internship opportunities is to go and work as an intern with a member of parliament who has some special responsibility, because that member of parliament is dealing with IT policy or is dealing with health policy or is dealing with foreign policy. And therefore a public policy graduate is someone who can bring some assistance meaningfully to people like that, right? So that's why I began my statement by saying public policy is much too important to be left to public servants within the government alone. And there are a lot of opportunities for people who are not in government to contribute to the making of policy. A lot of organizations like FICCI, the CII, the industry associations employ public policy graduates because they want to be able to lobby for policies. They want to be able to say, please change the policy because it's adverse to the interests of, say, the coal industry or the steel industry or some other industry. They would require the skills and knowledge that we teach in this particular program. So you can contribute to the shaping of public policy. You can contribute to the monitoring of public policy on the ground, and you can contribute to the evaluation of public policy by being outside of the government. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, so we are going to time out. So can we allow one more, sir?
Sure.
Ananya Garg want to ask something. Yeah, Ananya.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. So this was just an observation that when I research about this particular program, of course, we see that this program has been established in universities abroad for decades now. And capstone is necessarily a part of those programs. And I think that is what attracted me to this university's pedagogy as well, that capstone was a part here, which I did not find in other Indian universities. But I also noticed that where this program is already established abroad, they do mandatorily ask for at least 1 or 2 years of work experience, which we do not see in India. So I just wanted to know why does that difference exist? And is it just because this program is newer here, or is there any other reason?
That's a very good question. Let me answer that. It has to do with the nature of government. You see, the United States is a country where the government is regarded with a great deal of suspicion as part of their history. And in the course of American democratic politics, whenever a new government is elected, then whether it is at the city level or a town or at the state or at the federal government, the newly elected political leaders change all their policymakers, right? They will bring their own team. At the policy level, they will bring their own team. Now, this has been the tradition since the United States was founded. And therefore, no matter which profession you are, you may be a lawyer, you may be a doctor, right? The tradition in the USA has been, even if you graduate and you're a medical practitioner, at some point you would want to go and join a public policy program, right, and earn a degree, because you may be called upon by your city government or your state government or the federal government. You know, in fact, the federal government's post in charge of health is called the Surgeon General of the United States. The Surgeon General of the United States is generally a physician or a surgeon with a medical background. Vivek, whatever his name is right now in the Biden administration, comes with a medical background, but he has a public policy degree, right? So that's been the tradition in the United States, and that's why public policy courses started early, because no matter what your profession is, you may be a computer scientist, you may be a doctor, lawyer, you did a public policy degree and you put it in your baggage, right? It's there, because if a new regime is looking for new policymakers, they would prefer someone who understands how policy works and how policy is made, right? So that's why the US has had a long history of these programs. Whereas in the Commonwealth countries that come with the British civil service tradition, the understanding is that, we know it all, right? Those who are inside the government have a view that they know it all. In fact, I joke about this because I went to Balliol College in Oxford, and the first ICS officers were sent for a short period of training in Balliol College. And the master of the college at that time was a man called Benjamin Jowett. And so Balliol College students made a little limerick about him, which somewhat describes the attitude of some of our IAS officers. The limerick says, "My name is Benjamin Jowett. I am the master of this college, and what I don't know isn't knowledge," right? So that is the attitude that's now changed, right? So the British Raj didn't feel the need to consult the Indian public about public policy. They made policies that suited the interests of the Raj, right, for us. And in Britain, it took a longer time for them to establish a civil service with a competitive exam of the kind that we've had since 1857 was when the ICS started, when Queen Victoria became the Empress of India. So this tradition means in the Commonwealth countries, universities have not had public policy programs because, they didn't get a look in. It was the monopoly of those already inside the government. And because that is changing, and because governments in all the Commonwealth countries, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United Kingdom, recognize that we need people to contribute to the policy-making process who are not necessarily employed by the government. And that's why the world is opening up for public policy in this country.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
So have we finished with all the questionnaires? Any more hands?
Yeah, sir. So there is no other question.
No, there's something here adding to that question I would like to know. Fieldwork in a virtual world. No, fieldwork in a virtual world is again a challenge, but it's not impossible. I mean, because you could, there's a lot of ethnographic literature, right? What is an ethnographic literature? Ethnographic literature is when someone in the field has taken detailed notes and has interviewed people and has published their findings. Now, it's a second best substitute. If you can't go into the field yourself and learn about what's happening there, you can read this kind of literature. And so you see, some of our best sociologists in India, M.N. Srinivas, Professor Andre Bethai, Deepak Gupta, you read their work and you get, it is, when you read it, it is almost as if you are in a field, you are in a location, right? And looking at life and what people are doing. And we also have simulation games. For instance, in our program, instead of actually going into the field, we take our students through a simulation exercise where we've documented what happens in 12 years in a village in Gujarat. This was done by IRMA, the Institute of Rural Management in Anand. And we then, so you are a group in this virtual context. We divide you into different roles. Some of you have land and are farmers. Some of you have cattle and look after cattle. Some of you are, you know, working as potters, making pots, and some of you are making metal things. Whatever you might find in the context of a real world village, right? And then when you do this simulation exercise and you assume these different roles, and we know what happened, you know, what happens when there's a drought, what happens when there's a flood, what happens when a government changes a particular policy. All of these will have differential impact on different groups of people. And so this is a way of, instead of living through 12 years in a village, you have a technique by which you learn what has been the experience of different groups of people in that village over 12 years, right? So these are pedagogic innovations that you can use in a virtual context, right? It is like as if you're in a real world doing field work, but actually it's in a virtual world. So and I think we in India, we kind of adapt to this very well, because, you know, we understand that, philosophically we understand, is this the real world? You know, there's a little story about King Janaka, who one day had a dream that the enemy was at the door, and his general summoned him and said, you have to go defend the country. And he then rushed out, put on his armor, and went to fight the enemy at the gate. And after a long and bitter battle, was defeated. And he was told, you have to go in exile. You can't stay in this kingdom. We will not execute you because you're King Janaka, but you have to leave the kingdom. And he goes away, and then he finds a group of people waiting for food. He's at the end of the line, but when it comes to his turn, there are only scrapings of food left. And then he takes that in his bowl, and just as he's about to eat it, a kite swoops down and knocks the bowl over, and that little food is out in the dust, and he is starving and moaning, and then he comes to life and he wakes up. And the story is, Janaka asks, is this ye satya hai, wo satya hai? Because he's now in his palace, surrounded with luxury, and what he actually experienced was all these tribulations. And he says, what is the truth? Is this ye satya hai, wo satya hai? So every time anybody spoke to King Janaka, he kept asking, ye satya hai, wo satya hai, right? Until his teacher tells him, wo bhi satya nahi hai, ye bhi satya nahi hai. Aap hai satya, right? You are the experiencer, right? where you are in the dream, you experience everything you did. You are the experiencer. You are now in this world which you think is real, but so you see the difference between a virtual world and the real world. We can navigate it better than I think students in Western countries, because they don't have a kind of osmotic understanding of Advaita. All this is Maya, right? So you have to be able to substitute for that. Obviously it's better to go into the real world and experience it in one way, but the virtual world can be made to be just as real as the real world. It's a long answer to a question, but that means we have to be innovative in our pedagogy and able to understand, this is how the world is. wo satya hai, ye satya hai.
Absolutely, sir. So it's going to end of the session.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
So thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Professor Sudarshan, for such a wonderful session. I'm sure the students must have learned a lot from it. With this, we come to an end to session today.
I thank Dean Pankaj Gupta and Imlata and Manimala for
Manimala, Lalit, as well as Imlata ji also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I wish all my best to luck. And now, guys, we are looking off and we are joining again on 14th of July, which is again one of the session 11 o'clock. So please stay healthy, safe, and follow COVID protocols. All the best, guys. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you,
sir.
Maniji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks, sir.
Thank you,
Team
sir.
Sudarshan and all.
Yeah.
Thank you.